am in New York on a beautiful sunny day in the office of the Rockefeller University Press with Susan King, the Executive Director at RUP, and Rob O'Donnell, Senior Director at RUP. And it's an absolute pleasure to meet both of you. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview.
I think the biggest threat, in my mind, is fraudulent images.
Right.
Honesty, transparency, everything else will fall into place.
Everything else will fall into place. So that's Rob's message to
That's my message.
everybody else. Yeah, all right. If you could tell us a little bit about Rockefeller University Press. What is your history? What are your values? What do you stand for as a publisher?
Absolutely, happy to do so. So, Rockefeller University Press has been functioning for a very, very, very long time. We started actually back in 1902 when the inaugural editor of the Journal of Experimental Medicine realized that he couldn't do it alone and transferred ownership to Rockefeller University. So, long time ago. Since then, we launched the Journal of General Physiology and also what became the Journal of Cell Biology.
Yeah.
So those are our three Rockefeller-owned proprietary journals. We're committed to integrity and quality of the content we publish. We don't publish many articles, but we're very proud and we stand by those articles we publish. As I say, we're committed to integrity, if I can boil down a little bit more.
Yes.
Two examples there, I would say editorial integrity. Our model for peer review involves the collaboration of scientific editors here on staff, PhD trained, but working full-time, who partner with research-active academics in the field, some based at Rockefeller University, others spread across the globe. And that combination of those two groups of people, I think, really ensures the consistency of the content we publish and also that it really is moving research forward. Another example of integrity, and this is where I have to commend you at TNQ, because we really do feel that it's incredibly important the content we publish has robust metadata.
Yes.
That underpins so much of what you can achieve in the digital world. And they're very much thank TNQ for working with us to identify funding information in a robust way in the articles we publish.
I can tell you that in TNQ, in our internal conversations, metadata and Rob are synonymous. Over the years, Rob has actually helped us evolve what we do and how we capture metadata. So we're also grateful to you for helping us get there.
One of the things we pride ourselves on is our cross-ref reports.
Yes.
And that's a real tangible example of our metadata. And we know from looking at other publishers that they've not been able to achieve what Rob has been able to achieve working with TNQ and other vendors.
Yeah. The talk of the town has been for a while open access. And the reason why open access has again come into light is with the recent announcement from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation with regards to pre-press. What is your view of this landscape, the overall open access landscape? And how is RUP preparing to embrace these changes?
Yes, it certainly is a shifting and evolving landscape, and your identification of Bill and Melinda Gates is a prime example. I mean, their first OA requirement of their awardees was to publish immediately open access.
Yes.
And now they pivoted to moving to ceasing to support those fees, but requiring that their awardees post their accepted manuscripts or indeed a preprint. So, a real turnaround. But Bill and Melinda Gates at least have announced where they are going to be from 2025. The other members of Coalition S, of which Bill and Melinda Gates are part of, are evaluating their open access models. And there again, we've seen a shift. Initially Coalition S, Plan S was all about you must publish in a solely gold open access journal.
Yes.
And now we're seeing that Coalition is expressing concerns about the inequities that an APC model can bring. And then moving back here in the US, we're obviously still awaiting the outcome of what NIH's new public access policy will be. It does seem that all of these organizations do seem to be, in a way, following Bill and Melinda Gates and focusing on the accepted manuscript and making that the, if you will, artifact that is delivered to all. So it's very much shifting and evolving, and I think we'll know more come the end of this year. We have a multitude of pathways to ensure that authors can be compliant with their funding agency. Our RUP authors can post their accepted manuscript in PubMed Central or a repository of their choosing or their funders' choosing. We also provide the opportunity for authors to publish immediately open access. And for many authors, for authors that are at an institution that has a read and publish agreement with us, they can publish immediately open access without fees.
Right.
Likewise, we have a similar arrangement with the countries that are covered by Research for Life. And there is no fee for authors to publish immediately open access in our journals. We also support pre-printing, although it's interesting, I think round about maybe 50% is probably the maximum number of authors that choose to preprint with us. And what we can see is that they preprint at different times during the, if you will, a publication process.
Right.
Some choosing to submit a preprint after they've submitted to us, or after we've given an indication that we'll be sending out that manuscript for a peer review. You can expect, as I say, as being a department of a research active university, that we are going to support authors with their funders. Most likely our policies will be aligned with funders across the world, but possibly not, because different parts of the world are moving towards open access at different rates.
Yes, we will embrace open access. Yes, people want us to embrace open access. There are new kind of Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has come up with an approach. We're waiting for NIH to come up with an approach. As a business, how do you deal with it? Because every 6 months, every year, there is something drastically new, and you are expected very soon to comply with that. How does a business cope with that level of change?
I do think that, again, I'm going to bring it back to metadata. You have to know what you're publishing, who's funding it, where the author is affiliated, to be able to sort of take stock of where you are and where the funding agencies are. So I do think there's a very importance of metadata. I think you have to be flexible. I think you have to offer authors different routes to be able to comply with their funders, because their funders' policies may change. So I think you can't say, okay, I'm just going to go this route. I'm just going to go solely gold OA for all of the portfolio. I do think it's interesting, we talk about the end of the subscription model,
right?
But it strikes me that hybrid journals, such as the RU Press journals, still are very reliant on annual payments from institutions. But if you look at Subscribe to Open, that's still an annual payment from primarily institutions. And if you look at the CAP model that PLOS has adopted, moving from gold OA to another model that involves an annual payment from librarians. So whilst there's a lot of talk and churn and stuff like that, we still see that libraries, I think, are at the most important funder, if you will,
Yes.
of the publishing exercise.
Yeah.
And it's, again, one of the great joys at working for a university press is to be able to sit down with our librarian at Rockefeller University and discuss, how is he approaching open access and how are we and learning from one another.
Wonderful. I never thought of it this way, that, being part of a university, you have very close, very intimate access to your customer profile, which is a librarian, which is a great benefit.
And look at how Rob worked with Matt to think about to provide a place where authors could deposit their data.
Yes,
Right.
that is the head librarian.
Sorry.
Right.
That's right, Kobe. And so I think that was really good for both of you, sort of both the press and the university, thinking, how are we going to approach this? Which are the vendors out there that we should be partnering with?
Yeah, it's interesting. There's been, in the last few years, I think there's a lot more collaboration with the library that we never had before. And I think that's partly the digital world, and we're all dealing with things from opposite sides. So conversations matter. He's getting information about what publishers are looking for and why we're looking for it, and we get information from him about what librarians are looking for. So it really is a good relationship to have.
With a better understanding of open access, we also speak with multiple scholarly societies, independent associations, university presses, and a common concern is adjusting to this new normal, this post-subscription business model. And the duality of what the funding body and the research community wants, compared with how challenging it is to transform a business model, that is causing a lot of disruption. What are some of the options? Obviously, adopting and adapting to open access is one, but are there other options? One of the trends that we have seen over the last few years is for smaller societies to partner with a larger commercial publishers. Are there other options? Could other things be done?
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely believe that to be the case. And I think we can point to Life Science Alliance,
Right.
the solely gold open access journal that Rockefeller University Press launched in conjunction with Cold Spring Harbor Press and Embo Press. Launched in 2018.
2018 is first.
Thank you, TNQ, for being with us right from the start.
It's absolutely our pleasure.
LSA has been a resounding success, and I think is an example of how coming together we can collectively raise all boats. Also share our expertise. It's something that I didn't think about when we first started discussing Life Science Alliance. It's a collaboration across the three presses with manuscripts that are rejected from our journals being offered to Life Science Alliance, but it also allows us to collaborate across our staff. So, for instance, marketing for Life Science Alliance and production for Life Science Alliance are functions that RUP staff and personnel provide. Accounting and financial services are provided by Cold Spring Harbor, and editorial by Embo Press. So collectively, we can bring together our best minds in the room, our best resources to work together as well.
Very interesting. Best of all worlds.
Yes, exactly. And that's not to say that I don't have a great finance person over here, but it's suddenly like, oh, our staff is now tripled in size.
Yeah.
Because we have more people that we can draw on to support this. And wasn't something that I envisaged when we first came together, but that is what has come. And I think it's to the strength of the journal.
Is Rockefeller University Press open in that manner to partner with other publishers?
Absolutely. I think one of the things, we're not in the physics space, but
yes.
I was delighted to see the announced partnership between APS, AIPP, and IOP. And whilst I think they're in early days, I think, again, working together, they can collaborate.
Yes.
And ultimately, what we're here to do is provide a service to our authors and our readers. And we can do that both through competing and collaborating. And I do think that collaborating can give great rewards.
RUP has always been open to experimenting with technology. And and embracing new technology. What are some of the opportunities and threats that you see in this landscape that is changing every evening? You wake up in the morning and there is a new machine learning model that people are talking about. What are your opportunities and threats?
Absolutely. So it's interesting. So we here at the Press, we started an AI working group just to start discussing AIs and ways we might use it, testing different general LLM models and things like that. And that became the problem. It's like things are changing so fast as we're testing. We really couldn't write up enough of what a policy could. Well, we wrote up a policy about what not to do really with AI is what it came down to, but not about which tools are best for any task. You know, there are tools coming out, and I think there are a lot of specific use tools that are very pertinent to what we do. I think the biggest threat, in my mind, is fraudulent images. Right. So we've been screening images for 2 decades, as you know, with help from TNQ, and it's just getting harder and harder. The AI tools in Photoshop can manipulate images in ways that you cannot detect in any way. And even harder is completely 100% generated AI images, which have no manipulations actually. So it's becoming really difficult. At the same time, there are tools out there that are using AI to help with image fraud, such as Image Twin.
Right.
And I am aware using Image Twin. I think you're using Image Twin.
We are partners with them.
Yeah. And we can check across the literature to find duplicate images, which is impossible for a human to do.
Yes.
So things like that are great opportunities, and we're finding them very useful. Integrity is the biggest threat.
Right.
Like I said, images, even plagiarism, things like that. And with that, we are now piloting the STM Integrity Hub that works with Clear Skies for we're looking at paper mill checks and duplicate submission checks across.
Technology partners are a very important part of any publishing house's strategy. But broadly, what are your expectations with your partners?
What we expect from any vendor we work with is for them to guide us, for them to listen to us, for them to develop a true relationship with us. We are seeing one part of the industry. Vendors like TNQ are seeing so much more, and we need that input. We need some guidance to say, hey, are you thinking about this? Yeah. The discussions are so important. We expect privacy. We expect our data to be confidential.
Yes.
To be siloed from your other clients. And especially now, going back to AI, we need our data, especially our not yet published data, to not get into public LLMs.
Absolutely. There is a lot of consolidation happening in the industry. Elsevier owns Aries, editorial manager. Wiley has acquired Atipon, Inera, Egypress, somebody that you work with, J&J Editorial. So product companies as well as services companies. ACS has recently acquired Chronosnap.
Sure.
So there's a lot of consolidation happening. The independent choices that an independent society or university press had previously of a technology partner is kind of reducing. On the other hand, many of these organizations are likely to benefit from a deeper pocket that they get as part of, this much larger umbrella, and therefore they could serve their customers better. Could I have your opinion on how do you see this space evolving? Is this, do you see opportunities? Do you see risks?
Well, I think, first and foremost to say that, RUP, we select the vendors, the partners that we think will best fit our needs, whether they be part of a larger organization, either a commercial publishing house or a larger non-commercial publishing house, isn't really a factor in our decision making. You're right to suggest that yes, there may be opportunities for these service providers, part of a bigger house, that they've got deeper pockets on which to draw from. However, I guess one thing is to be cognizant that just because there are deeper pockets there, it doesn't mean that those pockets, if you will, are held hostage to the fortune of that larger organization.
Yes.
So I think that's something you have to be mindful of.
Yeah, I think Silverchair is a great example of a company that sold, not fully sold, I believe, but sold the majority of shares to an investment company.
Yes.
And that inflow of cash to Silverchair has changed things for the better. We're seeing things like all this AI development they're doing, experimentation. To have a company above you that has the funds to allow you to experiment, I think really improves the company.
Right.
Other ways we've seen this, other companies, I've noticed that, the Wiley purchased Journal Press, and we're a Journal Press customer. There's day to day, I'm not seeing a lot of change, but things like security and things that they need to run by a parent company that they didn't before, I think is important, especially when we're talking about content that is siloed. Yes, so there could be the concern that Wiley now has access to our content, but they are so invested in security of that content that it does really lessen those concerns.
Right. As we come to the end of the interview, thank you so much for taking out the time to do this. I have one request of you. TNQ has been a long-standing partner of RUP, and we have always been grateful and really very proud of this association. There is a large team that is working for you in India, in Chennai, both managing your content and some pieces of technology that you use. I would love to have your message for that team. And, from you, Susan, and from you, Rob, whatever your message to that team would be.
I just want to thank the team out there in Chennai. I really, you were with us from the start with our baby with Life Science Alliance, and you now look after, if you will, the maybe the other family members that we publish. And just thank you. Your innovation, the way that you're exploring AI is so fascinating. It's so important, and it's invigorating us and helping us in the collective service that we have, which is to publish research that makes our world a better place. Science for the benefit of humanity. Thank you for joining us with that.
Thank you so much, Susan.
And I'll just add, addressing the team, the production team that does the work for us, just thank you. Keep up the good work. Thank you for continuing to adapt to changes as this industry is constantly changing. We really appreciate that you are all proactive, looking for feedback. And when you get the feedback, you actually address the feedback, which is fantastic and not always true for sure. But yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. And I do want to share also that we do a post-publication survey after every article is published.
Right.
And we found that 90% of our published authors find Proof Central easy to use.
Oh, wow.
They are satisfied with time from acceptance to production. And 99% appreciate the copy editing. And that's all directly attributable to TNQ. And author satisfaction is so important to us. So thank you.
Wow. So that's down to all of you guys. Thank you so much for everything that you are doing. And thank you so much, Rob and Susan, for taking out this time. It's a beautiful day in New York. We also had the typical New York fire truck going past during the interview. Lovely talking to you. Thank you so much for taking out the time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.